to Cheese and Turtles. In this video, which I've been very much looking forward to making, I am trying Inkbox temporary tattoos. If you haven't already subscribed, what are you doing? The button is right there, so make sure to subscribe. Check out my Instagram, give me a follow on there, that'll be in the description. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so as you know, I actually have a tattoo, if you've watched previous of my videos. In fact, I did a vlog, so check that out, of me getting this tattoo. But it's on my arm, and it is my favourite band's name in their handwriting. And I've been thinking about getting some more tattoos, but I wanted to try out the placement, and I didn't want to commit to anything super early before I thought about it, because I like to think about things before I get them, you know, permanently inked onto my body. Obviously, I know laser therapy, like removal, is a thing, but I like to think about my tattoos. So I discovered this Inkbox. This is not sponsored, but basically it is a freehand tattoo marker, and you draw on yourself, and then you wait, and you try not to smudge it, and then after, well, you have to leave it for an hour to dry, then you have to leave it 8 hours before you go in, like, water and stuff. There's a development patch that comes with it, so this, I'll just undo it and show you, and it's these patches, and you can just put them on over your tattoo, and that sort of protects it. They're not necessary, but they help. Also, you can reuse them, so that's useful. But I decided that in this video, we are going to be drawing on me, or rather I'm going to be drawing on me while you watch, and I will show you how it turns out, so you can decide whether this is a good idea or not for yourself. So last night, just as a little trial run, I did a little heart on my hand. As you can see there, my aftercare wasn't the best and it smudged a little bit up here. That won't happen if you use the development patch. But yeah. So I like how this turned out. Obviously the line's quite thick, so I'm just going to show you how thick the marker is. I'll just do a little unboxing here. So that's how thick the marker is. If you take off the lid, it's like that. Anyway, so I drew that on my hand. I'm going to take a little bit more care not to smudge next time, but I've got a bunch of ideas like flowers, plants, and so forth that I want to draw on myself, so here we go. So this is the first thing I did, was a little succulent plant. I'll put some inspo that I had on the screen, but I like this because it's really easy to draw. Essentially you just draw a centre and then the leaves around it, and you can just fill in the gaps where you don't like the look of it, or you can expand it as necessary. But I thought it was a cute little plant, and it goes quite well with the little heart I've got over here. As you can see, the ink's kind of brownish when you first draw it, but as time goes on, it gets more sort of dark black, like tattoo ink, so you have to give it time to develop, but I'm quite pleased with the second one. I'm going to let it dry. Alright, so here's the third one I did. It's a little butterfly kind of experiment. I was trying to make the wings look like stained glass, but I'm really not vibing with this one. I'm not quite sure I caught the look, to be honest. It just doesn't look that great to me. But I think that is more to do with my penmanship and not to do with the ink, so, you know, because I was quite happy with the plant that I just did. Fortunately, though, this is not permanent, because these are temporary tattoos, and that's the whole point of experimenting with them and experimenting with body art, is this will come off in 1 to 2 weeks, so I don't have to look at it for that long. Alright, so here's the fourth one I did. It's supposed to be a collection of stars. You can decide how realistic or not that is. And as you can see, my sleeve is starting to fill in here, so obviously it's nowhere near being a complete arm, like, yet, but we move, and honestly, I'm really enjoying the process of just drawing on myself and designing it and figuring out which should go in which gaps and so forth. The next thing I did was this really long sort of leaf, I don't know, ivy trail, which just runs up my arm and sort of through the other designs, which I think it's starting to bring it all together really nicely. And I don't know, do you think it looks a bit crowded? I'm not sure if it looks a bit crowded, but I really enjoyed drawing the leaves and like the tendrils and stuff, and I feel like it fits in with the whole nature theme really well. Alright, I added 2 more things. First is the little trail on the butterfly, so it's sort of going along. I always like dotted lines on tattoos, I think they're cute. And, finally, for this side of my arm, the mushroom. Like, I'm unreasonably proud of having drawn this, because I think it actually looks like a real mushroom. Obviously, I'll have to reserve judgment until after it's developed, and I'll try my hardest not to smudge it. In fact, I might whack a development patch on top of these so they don't smudge. But overall, I'm really proud of my sort of nature-themed arm, and I'm going to do some more designs on the other side. Side note, this is what the development patch looked like when it's on, so obviously it looks a bit wrinkly and so forth, and you're going to feel like someone stuck, I don't know, sticky tape on your hand or arm, but it is worth it. It doesn't feel too uncomfortable. So I'm going to leave that on for like an hour or so, and we'll see what happens. Alright, so I left it an hour, and I've taken the development patch off. Honestly, it doesn't look really any different, and it doesn't look like this one, but to be fair, this one has been left overnight and these have not. So I'm going to wait for like
another few hours, because they're supposed to be fully developed after 8 hours and it's only been an hour. So I'm going to leave them and hope they develop a bit more. I'm quite happy with these ones though. These seem to have developed, I don't know, maybe I gave them more ink. Anyway, we shall see.
Alright, so it is the next day, and I'm going to show you what happened to my arm tattoo overnight, and then I'm going to do one on my leg.
Alright, so as you can see, quite a lot of smudging on this one. I did as the instructions advised, and I wore long-sleeved shirt overnight, as well as leaving on the development patch for an hour, but it seems like it's still smudged. So the advice is to get some rubbing alcohol and rub off the smudges, but I can't be bothered. Like, you know what? I like it as it is. I think the smudges tell a story, and I'm fine with it. I'm really pleased with how this turned out, but then I think this has kind of been my favourite since the beginning. So I'm pleased with it. I mean, smudges can happen, I'm going to be honest. But for now, I'm going to move on to the next exciting instalment, which is my leg tattoo.
I'm really excited to try out this leg tattoo because this is actually a tattoo I'm thinking of getting. So the ones on my arm they're fun, but I'm not necessarily planning to get any of them as such, whereas the one I want to do on my leg, so the inside of my left calf, so like lower leg, is a lyric from my favourite band, one of their songs from their most recent album. I'll explain as we go, but I essentially want to get it next year as a sort of graduation present to myself, and just as a reminder to keep living life to the fullest. So I'm going to draw that, I'm going to put the development patch on, and then I'm going to explain the meaning of the tattoo.
So this is what my leg looks like with the quote written on it. This is from Oh Wonder's second half of their fourth album, well, or their fifth album, which depends on how you count it. But anyway, this is from the album 22 Make, and it's from the last song called Say Something. And this is in the chorus of the song, and I'm going to link it in the description because it's a great song and it's one of my favourite songs from the album. And this phrase really caught my imagination because it made me take a look at my life, and this is going to sound really deep, but it made me take a look at my life and question whether I was really living, whether I was really sort of experiencing each moment to the fullest. And I thought it was a really, really good tattoo to get, because every time I look at my leg, I'm going to be like, am I really living? Like, am I really doing what I want to do in my life? Am I going in the right direction? Am I just living life to the fullest? So I'm thinking of getting this as a graduation present. I'm not set on the typeface right now, so that's why I just did it in sort of like plain capitals, but it'll probably look something like this eventually. As you can see, I've put the development patch on over the top. It doesn't quite reach to the end here, so I'm just hoping that won't smudge. It probably will smudge, but I'm quite happy with how this turned out, and I'm going to leave the patch on, I think, for like at least 8 hours, so it doesn't smudge, rather than just 1 hour. And I'm going to see how this turns out, and hopefully it smudges less, because I'm quite invested in this one looking good. Alright, so it's the next morning, and I've taken the development patch off. As you can see, it smudged a little bit on the end. I think this pulled away during the night, but in general, it hasn't really smudged at all. It looks like it's developed a sort of black rather than brown vibe really well. So I'm actually quite pleased with this one. I think it's faded a little bit at this end, but it's smudged way, 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 way less than my first one. So genuinely very happy with this, and I can't wait to get this at graduation. Probably not in this font, but I really like how it looks, and I'd really like to have this on my leg long term.
Since I decided not to draw on the top of my arm for now, I think I'm done with this part, and I'm also done with my leg, and that means it is time to give Inkbox an overall rating. Inkbox obviously does actual transfer tattoos that come already drawn and you just stick them on and then take them off, and I haven't done those, so I can't speak for that. The marker's the only one I've tried because I wanted to do my own freehand designs. And I think I'd give this like a 3.5 or a 4 out of 5, because even though I followed the instructions, okay, negatives first, I ended up smudging quite a lot, as you can see, or maybe you can't. It ended up smudging quite a lot, and the same one for my leg, it smudged a little bit, and also it can transfer onto the rest of your skin. So I slept with like my hand on my stomach, and the little heart ended up transferring, can you see? There you go. Yeah, the little heart ended up transferring onto my stomach. I'm not mad because it's cute, but I think that's something you should be aware of. And also, it kind of messes up your showering schedule because you have to plan your tattoos to be like 8 hours ahead of when you want to shower, or 24 hours ahead of when you want to shower, so that's a downside as well. But on the upside, it's really fun. Like, I just really enjoyed drawing on myself, and yeah, the smudges are there, but they're kind of part of the story, and I enjoyed the fact that it's not going to last beyond a few weeks, so if I mess it up, like, I feel like I kind of messed up my butterfly, it doesn't really matter, and it will fade, and, you know, time heals all wounds. And it's also a really fun way to try out designs that you want to get, like the one on my leg, and maybe if I think of other things, then I'll just draw them on myself, see how they go, and then if I like them, I can get them. So 3.5 to 4 out of 5. Can't decide on a definitive rating, so I'm giving you a range. Anyway, have you tried out Inkbox? Let me know in the comments. If you have any other thoughts or feelings or criticisms or comments, those should go in the comments as well. Make sure to subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye!